yet to genuinely play a meta pick. I mean, that Malphite, I still think it's just a little bit outside of what we've seen from a lot of other teams in most of the regions. There's a Lee Sin ban coming in against Flawless once again.
If you're going to go out of the meta, you have to make us a believer, and that's not what he's been able to do in those 5 games.
Tom Kench ban, so far, similar to what we saw in game number 1.
Does e-mFire change their drafting here? Do they, for example, ban Corki to try and ban away what was a very solid poke comp? Italy also a potential ban. I don't think that will do anything necessarily massively, but I think Corki is such an important flex pick that denying it from the enemy might be very important.
Yeah, banning that in Italy, I don't know. There's so many other strong junglers right now, aren't there, that if you ban the Italy, you take away the poke, I suppose.
Flawless on control jungler's actually been very underwhelming. His Elise play in particular, he's played the most games on Elise of all champions, and his Elise hasn't looked strong, so
he did look solid on that Nidalee. They have to decide what they're going to ban now. It's going to be Rise.
The champion that fell through picks and bans.
Crazy, isn't it? 100% pick ban until last game when nobody wanted to play the Rogue Mage.
There is now only one champion who's been 100% contested. I bet you can guess who it is.
I bet it's Lulu.
It's Gangplank.
Gangplank, that was going to be my second guess.
That's a fair assumption. We actually had the ban rates on the screen. He could have cheated there, Doa.
Oh,
could have
yeah.
guessed it was Gangplank.
You're right.
Graves is the final ban. Interesting. So Flawless definitely doesn't play it if they're banning it on both blue and red side.
Right.
Unless Hippo's been spamming it in top lane, I guess it's a possibility. Well, at least there's a flex pick with the first pick.
Lissandra gets through, so e-mFire will grab that. But still leaves a lot open, and it does leave Alistar open for Secret. And it was important enough for SBENU to take that they first picked it over everything else last game. Excuse me. And I gotta say, with the way Secret played on that champion, maybe it would have been worth taking that away.
And look, it was a welcome return to form after a big sidestep from Secret, affirming that it was just a once-off that he had that really bad game with Alistar game 1.
Right.
The series against CJ. Flawless returns to the Elise. Definitely, I would say, objectively the strongest jungler out there. You could argue maybe Kindred, but going for the Elise, we're going to look for a step up from Flawless in terms of Elise play. It's very important to have this champion as part of your pool, and for now, given what we've seen on the champion stage, his Elise has been underwhelming.
Yeah, we'll see if he can pick it up. I mean, I suppose this is probably one of the best matchups to get some experience with it in. Lucian Thresh, a very strong lane taken by e-mFire.
I mean, so far, pick on both sides. Alistar, Elise, a pick duo. Lissandra, Thresh, the same. So no team is committed to a definitive playstyle just yet. Poppy's 3-0 in Champions so far and is locked in. Okay, probably going to be a top lane Poppy.
Yeah. We did have that swap over to Soul for SBENU, away from Soar. So bringing that Poppy, which has been really strong worldwide.
Yeah, Champions were slow to pick it up. It was only the first series of second week that we saw Cuvée pick it up. I believe it's 3-0 overall, 2-0 for Cuvée and 1 win for Smith. So we will see in our explosive next series, potentially after this game.
Indeed. Final 2 picks over to e-mFire.
They got a very solid pick comp going so far. I'd like to see them stick with that. Team fighting pick is what they've got. They're going to have to commit to Hippo's champion. Looking at least like it's going to be a mid lane Lissandra. Edge did play mid lane Lissandra for KT last season.
True. Haven't seen as much of it lately, and SBENU does have the opportunity to pick something else for Sassen to play if they decide that they're going to give Nuclear that Corki.
Sassen special time!
Yeah, I mean, Sassen is a very good Vel'Koz player, actually.
His last 2 red side last picks, and SBENU have, so far this season, given Sassen last pick. Uniquely, remember, it's usually top lane that gets the red side counter pick. We have seen Kindred mid, and we have seen Quinn mid. So it's been an 80 carry theme. We'd love to see the Vel'Koz, it's what he's known for, but Ezreal's available. They could just return to Corki Ezreal as a duo.
You know, we've seen a lot of Lux and things like that. You know, Vel'Koz kind of fits into that same category in that, you know, those less mobile mid laners that were kind of dangerous to play before. Now that Frost Queen's claim is so obtainable and has that slow, it's a little bit easier to keep those champions safe in the mid lane.
But why change it? Corki Ezreal, no deaths, did a lot of work last game.
Yep.
Even though they started off with a pick comp, and of course Poppy can be used in a pick capacity, suddenly, headbutt, disengage, Poppy ult, disengage. They have strong disengage. It's time for double AD, it's time for sieging again.
Yep. Looks like we might have the swap, though. Sassen on the Ezreal this time, and Nuclear on the Corki. So sending that Ezreal to mid lane.
Is a bit safer against the Lissandra. Valkyrie, of course, can be interrupted by the Lissandra ult, but
true.
Good luck interrupting an Ezreal with cleanse.
Yeah.
Can you ask for any more safety?
I don't think there's really too much more you can do to keep that Ezreal safe in the mid lane. So SBENU, you know, with more poke, a solid front line, and that may be what it takes to get some more quick sieging action done like they did in game 1.
But we can be hyped. Hippo is on a meta champ.
Yes, playing the Gnar. See how he does.
Can he make us a believer of the Gnar? Look, it's a very strong pick engage comp from e-mFire. Very solid, definitely has its points of power. Laning phase should go pretty heavily to e-mFire. Let's see if they can get a fast start, because if they don't, we've already seen what SBENU can do with a poke comp.
They struggled very hard with the lane swap in game number 1 too, so the early part of the game is going to be very, very crucial for e-mFire to get a start that even lets them contest SBENU at all.
Gnar is much better in a lane swap, so I expect e-mFire to be the one to actually force the lane swap. Let's see if they can get on top of it game 2.
Yep. Well, a lot of work needs to be done for e-mFire, who still has no wins in the tournament yet. Can they get it against SBENU? Let's get in the game and find out. Rule the what? Rule the what?
We'll never know.
Welcome back to Summoner's Rift once again. Game number 2 between e-mFire and SBENU. SBENU with a very, very quick win in game number 1. I think that was like a 33-minute victory. Just kind of rolling unopposed through all those turrets with a poke comp, and now they're back again.
I feel like if OGN are going to commit to that particular shortcut of the intro between games, they should just pipe in Rift at the end there.
Yeah, might as well. We just get Monty to record that too.
Yeah, just get him to
Rift.
Robo Monty.
Yep.
Everybody wants to rule. The pause.
Rift.
Sadly, a pause.
I lose it whenever Monty says Coca-Cola League of Legends champion. Like, I can't take it. I can't keep a straight face and hear that.
For any American fans unclear as to what that particular snack is, think Bugles. Very similar.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard it's even like the officially licensed Korean version of that snack.
Oh, really?
I can't verify that completely, so don't take my word for it, but that's just what I've heard.
Sassen seems pretty stoked in the booth. Always seems to be in a good mood.
Yeah, well, a win like that would put me in a good mood, that's for sure.
He didn't get to pick his Velcros, unfortunately, so...
Well, I am relieved, Papa Smithy, because I thought this series was going by way too fast.
Okay.
I'm glad we've got a pause so we can just savor it a little bit more.
Got to savor the SBENU when you can.
That's right.
Who knows how long they'll be around.
Style, savor, SBENU.
I don't think they have the money to record those ads anymore, though.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. We here at OGN don't want to speculate into any sort of
That's fair. That's fair.
corporate, you know,
But the team's here to stay. And
issues.
hopefully we'll pick up their first match win. Maybe this will be the start for them to come forward. It was specifically the Kesper Cup where they were like, I was like, okay, SBENU's going to take that next step. And obviously took a step back, but Flawless looked a lot better in that previous game. Again, a performance on a control jungle like Elise would be, to me, another kind of steadying step for a SBENU squad who should be on the rise this season.
Yeah, that's true. We talked about, too, kind of the expectations with SBENU coming into this and how they haven't quite met them. And it is true that the SBENU organization is having some issues right now. They let their StarCraft 2 squad go, keeping League of Legends around for now. But, you know, certainly there are things going on outside of the game that might be impacting these guys. And you'd like to see them do better. I mean, they looked so promising at the end of 2015. And we haven't seen it yet in Champion Spring. That last game was probably, I think, the best game we've seen from them. But, again, there's a big asterisk on that because it was against e-mFire. But we'll see. If they can close game 2 out smoothly, too, it's a good sign.
Whenever you look at off-season business, you have to take into account the ins and the outs. And obviously, SBENU didn't lose anyone. You look at Jin Air, they lost Chaser and GBM. You look at Samsung, they brought in Ambition, didn't change a whole hell of a lot else. It was easy to say, okay, SBENU, they're going to be the ones to move from that middle of the pack and start threatening the top 5. So far, definitely not been showing that. But it's only been 2 series. Maybe this will be just a very delayed start to the season for SBENU.
They've got time. What is that dance?
Oh, I know. It's from an anime. It's from...
Oh, yeah?
I don't remember the name enough to do it justice. The Melancholy of...
What?
It's from...
That's the name of the anime?
That's the start of it. I forget the name. It's the character's name.
I have no idea.
Someone will tweet at us and remind us.
Contrary to popular belief, I don't actually watch a lot of anime.
Me neither, but I did know that fact.
I only watch the really good ones, like Cowboy Bebop, best one ever.
Now on Blu-ray.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me.
Exactly. That's actually a hard sell to you, not to the audience.
If I had anything in my apartment that could play Blu-ray discs, maybe I would consider getting it.
You have an Xbox One.
Oh, that plays Blu-ray?
I think so. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Physical media. What is this? 2010?
That is a fair point.
Come on.
Blu-rays.
All right, old man, Papa Smithy, you just go ahead and put your physical disc into your physical disc drive and wait for it to play.
One thing that e-mFire didn't put into play this game was the lane swap we expected. They have Gnar. Poppy, of course, is going to struggle in a lane swap relatively compared to a Gnar, but another game in a row, e-mFire went to their designated normal lanes and seemed to be a bit surprised the lane swap was on.
I guess so. So I think we're going to have a pretty similar start to how we did last game, where the outer turrets once again will be pushed down and top and bottom pretty quick.
I would say to an 100% certainty, yes.
Certainly seems that way.
Poppy took a little bit less experience, didn't take any red buff experience. Seems like they're giving Flawless the quick level 3 so that he can duel.
Yep. Now Hippo got way behind in the lane swap in game number 1. Do you see the same thing happening here?
Well, he's on a ranged champion, so you'd hope not, but it is possible.
Flawless looking for an opportunity to try to gank Edge. He's just going to walk in the lane. They catch him with the cocoon, actually. Edge not able to use that. He has to flash. Saucin, oh, he didn't have another arcane shift off cooldown soon enough. Couldn't get that kill, but hey, get the flash. You force that Lissandra out of lane, and that's going to be an easy gank in the near future.
Surprised to see Flawless hold off flashing for an auto attack or any semblance of damage. It would have been a kill. They seem to be surprised by their own damage output. Just ends up forcing the teleport from Edge. As you can see from that notification, time for those turrets to start going down.
Yep. Now, will they be able to gank mid lane again? Now, how far up will Edge decide to go? He shouldn't go too far, but if he does, a flashless Lissandra is a pretty easy target.
The reverse push has been successful from SBENU. Looking down the bottom to see. Yep, looks like e-mFire also getting minions pushed in, but nuclear swaps back quickly.
Yep.
Let's see if we're going to get 2v1 down bot. It looks like it. You can tell that SBENU have been more interested about getting that first turret, but then crucially denying Hippo rather than looking for the second quick turret.
Yeah, it works so well, and you know, to be fair, Hippo has really looked like a weak link on this team. Soul chased away up in top lane, so e-mFire trying to do a bit of the same to the opposing top laner.
It's also one of those unique games where, as we see Soul forced away, you know, we see those other situations. I was talking about Prey, for example, farming in a 1v1 against the top laner down bot as Blue Ezreal. In games where there's a lot of kill pressure mid lane, that's a good scenario for something. But in a game like this, where Alistair is a very strong roaming support, but has a level 5 Blue Ezreal in the mid lane who has not even tier yet, you're more incentivized to hold down rather than try and isolate that mid and get ganks off around the mid lane.
I suppose. Well, nobody's perfect.
Get those turrets, Doa.
Yep. Well, I'm not getting them. I'm casting. I'm not playing. So.
And look, Hippo's found some CS, so already big improvement.
A little bit. A little bit. He was way behind last game.
And Soul has the world's quickest Swifties.
Yep.
Doesn't have any combat stats whatsoever, just movement speed.
I mean, Poppy's pretty tanky on her own, and she's got a decent amount of damage as well. Hard to get close to her with dashes at least, so pretty good shape. And it looks like SBENU going for a pretty early dragon here too.
And swapping their dual lane back buff gives them control over the dragon. We haven't seen many 5-minute dragons. We've seen, I believe yesterday, 13 minutes was the average first dragon, but starting that stacking off very early, SBENU. I like this with poke comps especially, just because of course poke can miss their window if some things go wrong in the mid game, but if you have a backup win condition of 5th dragon, AD champions, specifically ranged ADs, are the best in the game at proccing all the benefits you get from the 5th dragon buff.
Certainly. CS pretty even across the map between these two teams. First Dragon obviously does help out SBENU a little bit, but what's the next step, you know? Soul is under some pressure.
But he's got swiftness boots and he's poppy, so he's actually fine. The reason why we're seeing swiftness boots so early, so frequently, is that you get so much for 800 gold. Of course, we know how strong the boots are in general, but think about a game like this where all the outer turrets are down, specifically in top and bot. You're going to get ganked a lot. You're going to have to overextend for farm. You're going to walk into experience range with that 65 movement speed that much more. When you get ganked, inevitably, you're going to be that much better at getting away. He's buying more safety with flat movement speed than he would with a Ruby Crystal.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's what makes him not too afraid to push up. You know, we don't see SBENU going for that Rift Herald as much. Oh, Secret getting caught here. Guger and Soul trying to make a play. Secret getting very, very low. No ultimate yet, just level 4. Soul takes a big amount, well, not a big amount, but some damage from Nuclear anyway. He was expecting a bit more. But Secret escapes, so all's well that ends well for SBENU.
Seeing that BF sword damage coming through from Soul. He could have gone crazy, but he would have just traded flashes with Alistar, which of course is to the disadvantage of Alistar.
Wow, blue buff stolen by SBENU.
Wow.
Saucin grabs that with the 2-shot barrage before Edge can get there.
It shows you how little pressure there was on the map that they could even just ult steal it for the mid laner rather than have to give it to someone else. They have 2 pink wards on the top side of the map, 3 pink wards, but no control over their blue side blue buff.
Yeah. Guess they're just gonna have to give that one up.
Well, seems like it's a trade.
Yeah. I suppose.
Both teams playing around where they had multiple members, but crucially e-mFire not playing around where they had vision, and now they lose 2 pink wards. They should have moved their vision line with where they were actually planning to put their members. And now SBENU,
here we go.
You spoke about this.
Yeah.
Usually we see the Dragon answered by the Rift Herald. Of course, it was very early and it took them by surprise. The fact that they're getting both means that e-mFire just weren't playing around their vision. They had double pinks around top, then kind of abandoned top lane. And so they lost their vision, they lost both buffs, and they just traded blue buffs. So overall, a big strategic win for SBENU.
Yeah, they're going to give that buff over to Flawless again. Second game in a row, they've given that to the jungler.
Moves fast now, though.
He does, and he can recall fast too, I suppose. So why not?
It's going to be wave clear in mid. Question now is, what does the top lane matchup look like, where Hippo has the combat stats and Soul is slightly behind in CS and just has the boots? Can we see Hippo actually put in a strong shift against his opponent top laner?
Well, we'll see what Soul buys. He hasn't been back for a while, so I've got a feeling he's going to get some decent items. Yeah, just picking up that Bomby Cinder straight up.
The thing about Poppy is that although she was given some wave clear with the change, of course her Q is now fairly short range wave clear, she still struggles to match wave clear, specifically with Mega Gnar, where Gnar gets actually quite a lot of wave clear.
Yep.
So Sunfire Cape has been a very common pickup for Toppy, as Monte Cristo likes to call it, to match wave clear where possible.
Yeah. e-mFire, I mean, it seems like they're getting more done and that they're putting more pressure on the map already in this game than I think we saw in all of game 1.
But just consider this. SBENU picked up a Dragon, a Rift Herald, so they spent more time out of lane than e-mFire, and they're still ahead in gold. That's the unpredictable part.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And that's not from objectives, that's purely from CS mechanics.
Crush. Getting the Grump.
Get him to the Grump.
That's right. You got it. And
oh boy.
Uber finds Nuclear, grabs him with that death sentence. Nuclear's going to use the package to dive out. TP's coming in from both sides. Flawless on his own now. Soul comes in with that teleport to join his jungler. Knocks Gnar way out of there. Soul taking a lot of damage regardless. Looks like Flawless will go down. First blood goes over to Edge. That's 2 kills for e-mFire, and Nuclear still way back. Oh, I don't think that recall's going to go off in time. No, turning on to Hippo. That's a lot of damage. They force the flash. Nuclear's like, let me recall, man.
That was actually really lazy strategic play from SBENU. They only have a single teleport.
Yeah.
First, Nuclear face checks a brush he didn't need to, but just following that, why commit to the teleport against double teleport? They knew that Edge's teleport was up as well. There was no way to respond with as many members, and justifiably, they lose 2 members for that.
Yeah, it was pretty sloppy, and after how tight game 1 was, it's kind of too bad to see it devolve to this point. But we'll see what they're able to do now, behind in gold by about 1,500.
Quite significant amount of gold goes over. Good reaction from e-mFire already, stepping up from last series where they were dictated to for the full 33 minutes.
Well, it is big that Hippo was able to stay in the game a little bit more, and even though Soul knocked him out first thing in that fight, it did enough that Soul was slowed down and got caught.
I wonder if that's going to be the Frozen Mountain. I see a pickaxe in the infantry from Nah, very aggressive.
Could be. Could be.
We didn't really have an idea of whether Hippo was an aggressive laner or not, just because he'd been picking off-meta tanks the whole time. Maybe he is more comfortable playing aggressively.
Dragging up in less than 10 seconds now. e-mFire grabbing that Rift Scuttler to get a little bit of vision on it, but we'll see if SBENU can take this.
They don't have teleport on Soul. Soul's right at the top of the map. He is quick though on the Poppy, but not quick enough.
I think they're going to give this one up. Yeah, looking like they will. No true shot barrage, no attempt to really steal it going to be coming from SBENU.
SBENU's window comes later. They're waiting for Iceborne Gauntlet, tier stacking to come through on Sarsen, so they got their first dragon, answered easily by e-mFire.
Soul and Flawless are going to put, or at least Soul is going to put some pressure on the top of the map before going to the jungle and seeing if they can grab that blue buff again.
They have the timer on it. Edge is coming in though this time.
Yep, Shot Barrage comes through. A little bit late. Who got that?
Didn't go over to Sarsen. They had to rush it down the moment that Sandra left.
Oh yeah, Flawless got it. Okay.
Let's see if SBENU will rotate all their members to try and protect a blue buff for Sarsen though.
Yeah, that blue buff should be coming up any second now.
What mirror takes.
Yep, now it is up. And they're sending Nuclear. Nuclear's in the area, but there's a lot of wards. Really good warding actually on the blue side for e-mFire. They're doing a ton of damage to this mid lane turret too.
This mid lane Ezreal doesn't have much wave clear outside of ult.
Yep. Wow, nice anticipation. Cougar almost grabbing Saucin after the arcane shift.
Also a pretty greedy item choice. We've seen most Ezreals go for tier into Iceborne Gauntlet, so you do get ranged wave clear with your Mystic Shot on cue with the Iceborne Gauntlet. Delaying the Iceborne Gauntlet means that ult down, but no wave clear.
Yep. Looks like they'll defend the turret for the moment.
Means they'll probably be able to defend the blue, but that should be the next step for e-mFire. They got this last move, they've got the timer, they've got the wards around it. Keep up the pressure, e-mFire.
SBENU reacting now, but it may be a little bit late to save that blue buff.
It's risky.
Saucin has no mana too.
They just have no vision of this area. It's very risky to go anywhere near it.
Wow, that seems kind of sloppy from SBENU again. You know, to know that they're coming for the blue buff and you don't clear wards, you don't really set up for it at all.
They certainly seem a bit complacent after a real one-sided series in game one.
Trying to make it interesting, I guess.
Poppy's still undefeated. We've only seen top Poppy in Champions, but 3-0. Been a very common pick in the LPL. Can get very, very tanky, be very hard to shove.
Oh boy. Flash Pulverize. They knock Cougar back in. He's going to try to flash away. Lissandra ult secret to lock him down. Cocoon comes in onto Edge though, and with Hippo joining the fight, SBENU needs to back off. Didn't really have a lot of follow-up there. True Shot Barrage just clears the minion wave.
Didn't actually blow any teleports on the side of e-mFire, but Soul also doesn't commit to the fight.
Yep, that's right.
Top lane farming.
He's going to go back, probably pick something up. Get that Sunfire Cape.
Flawless has actually gone Runic Echo on Elise. I was suspecting most Elise players would go over to the Cinderhulk, but Flawless is known for his extreme aggression and he's keeping up, even on the Elise.
It's interesting. Well, Nuclear and the rest of SBENU are going to have to play from behind this game, it looks like.
Yeah, it's only a hair behind, but that's probably what you deserve when you go for this Muramana rush mid lane Ezreal. Definitely doesn't have the same laning phase that Corki has, who's pretty lane dominant in most situations. And again, they've been lax on their warding, on clearing wards, on playing around power. e-mFire have made mistakes, but SBENU have been lax, and that just shows that we have higher expectations for SBENU, even just based on game one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the level of tightness to the play of SBENU in game two is nowhere near as clean as game one was. So far, anyway. Rift Herald goes over to e-mFire. Didn't quite see who ended up grabbing that buff.
gonna speculate that part of that laxness you mentioned. Oh boy.
Soul. And now Sassen nearly gets killed. Caught with that Lysandra ultimate. Takes a lot of damage. Corki comes in with the package. Goes on to Edge, who flashes back into the river. So nobody dead just yet. SBENU manages to save their turret and push people away. Meanwhile, Hippo pushing that top lane. A lot of recalls going in across the board, though.
SBENU have to be quick. Remember, we saw the pickaxe purchase. Nah has a lot of AD for what you'd expect.
Yeah. Yeah, looks like that turret's going to get taken down. Goodbye.
Bring the Rift Herald buff over. Take the mid turret. Nice rotation from e-mFire.
Yep. Yeah, looking pretty good in game 2. Man, if I'm SBENU right now, I don't want to be the team that gives e-mFire their first win.
No, that is not one for the record books that you want to opt into.
Yeah.
Again, still early days. They've made their mistakes. They've given e-mFire a foothold. This is probably the first time, barring maybe a little bit of game 1 that e-mFire debuted in, where e-mFire haven't had any semblance of a foothold in a game.
Well, I think you could say this is probably the biggest advantage we've seen them have in a game so far.
Actually doing well against Samsung in their debut back in week 1, but ended up just making a mistake and getting outscaled. Let's see if they can keep it together in the late game, because they just haven't had many late games to get to.
Yeah. Yeah, and at this point, this one could go a little bit later, couldn't it?
Definitely could. I really like the Frozen Mallet from Hippo. We were talking about Frozen Mallet in the previous game when we saw Steric's Gauge come through from Saw. This time it's Hippo on the Gnar, and he's gone for the Frozen Mallet. Obviously, between swiftness, boots, and just the general movement speed that Poppy has, it's not going to be enough to chase him down and kill him, but if you get lane control, if you ensure that with just your auto attacks, Soul is going to be much lower health when that inevitable teleport off comes, that's actually really good for the Gnar.
Very true.
Gets inherent tanky stats from the Mega Gnar.
20 seconds until Dragon. So e-mFire has put themselves in a really good place to take that. They've got all the vision, they've got all the lane pressure. And SBENU is having a really hard time right now.
SBENU's warding leaves a bit to be desired, especially compared to e-mFire. e-mFire's warding tells you one thing. The enemy blue side jungle and thus Dragon are on a stranglehold. And e-mFire, smart, they wanted to get this Dragon. And it's only a second Dragon buff, but definitely no contest, barring maybe an Ezreal ult snipe.
Yeah. Now he tries. Doesn't get it. Flawless just killing a pink ward.
And now actually just took the friendly blue buff just because they realized that was the one thing that SBENU had the time before, the one thing SBENU had been pretty relentless controlling. It's not ideal to give it to the no mana champion in Gnar, but it at least denies it from being stolen away by SBENU.
Yeah, everybody loves CDR.
It's true. Except maybe Rumble. Rumble doesn't like CDR that much. It means it overheats more.
That's true. It's a good point.
Everyone else, though, really big about that CDR.
Generally so. Crush going for that Rift Scuttler. And unless SBENU makes something happen in the near future, I feel like we're going to see a game 3 here.
Willing to commit to that
Whoa!
just yet.
Guger steals the Krug with his death sentence. Not bad.
That was a level 1 death sentence. It's actually been maxing the flame.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just put a second point into it now. Wow, okay.
Interesting. Going after the red buff now of SBENU Secret. And Soul want to stop that. Flawless joining the party, but pretty much all of the e-mFire is here. I don't think they can fight this.
Remember the gold lead that SBENU had at this point of the game last game? Isn't there?
Yep. Oh,
for
time to go to
e-mFire.
mid lane. And are they actually going to trade a tier 2 for mid? I don't think so. No, everybody turning around. Nuclear grab. Nice hook by Guger. Wow. He knew exactly where that Valkyrie was going to go. We saw him try to anticipate the arcane shift earlier. He anticipated that Valkyrie extremely well. Great hook.
Tried to flash into Valkyrie and got caught nonetheless. He went for the more defensive of choices and still got punished. Really nice play from Guger.
Yeah.
And look at this, e-mFire playing well from ahead.
Yeah. I guess so.
Poppy doesn't have a lot of wave clear. It reminds me of yesterday's series where we saw a massive Tom Kench from Trace but just get rotated on by the enemy just because of a lack of wave clear. Poppy only has the smallest semblance of it, so playing around the Poppy is smart. And look at this.
Huh. Beautiful.
Grabbed from just the edge of the Valkyrie, instantly exploded.
That was really nice.
It's looking more and more likely, like what you were saying, could potentially be that game 3. The dubious honor of SBENU of being the first team to drop a game to e-mFire. So, yeah.
Soul.
See ya.
Yeah, knocks Hippo and Crush right out of there.
Hobby Old is just the best.
It is.
It's really, really amusing, and of course, very strategically interesting as well.
Yeah.
It's something for everyone. It's the popcorn flick of abilities. The
It is fun,
Avengers
but
of abilities.
You know, it's got some cool strategic choices with it too, so it's a good ult. Keep his verdict. I like it. Well done, Riot.
Legit praise from Noah for Riot. Well deserved.
Yeah, so the map has opened up a little bit more for SBENU now, but they're going to have to come back mid and defend this one.
You look at the wards, what exactly is the map for SBENU? They don't have much vision anywhere. The pinks have been pushed really aggressively from e-mFire. If this game says anything, it's that if you give e-mFire an inch in the early game, they at least know, on paper, how to start pushing their advantage.
So far. It seems like more than anything, though, SBENU was just really careless in the early game and kind of got themselves behind just as much as e-mFire got themselves ahead.
And you might wonder what changed, because we've noticed it's still the same AD carry or double AD duo in Corki and Ezreal, but just moving from Corki mid to Ezreal mid has lost them pressure around the mid lane. It was Nuclear reacting to everything first with the package, with just his faster reactions and movements, pushing in the wave and roaming. But first, picking Ezreal already with limited wave clear, then rushing the Mana Moon has meant that he's always been on the back foot. Lissandra's been instant clearing. They haven't been able to play around mid or any roams from Sarsen, and Sarsen has been watching as his team around him has kind of fallen apart strategically without lane pressure in mid.
A little bit. It's a 5K gold lead for e-mFire, so it's decent, but it's not unovercomable, I should say.
Oh, you're right. It's not insurmountable.
Yeah. Unovercomable. That's what I'll use that term instead.
Hey, sometimes people find the clean turn.
Oh, here we go. Corki comes in with the package. They find Cougar, misses that flay. Easy kill there for SBENU.
What can SBENU do with it? Baron is up, but it'd be very presumptuous to try the Baron when they've been behind the whole game. In terms of easy objectives to pick up, only maybe following this mid lane minion wave in and trying to get some damage onto mid, but Lissandra, one of the safest at clearing waves, especially this early in the game where a dive onto her isn't realistic. So it's just a kill, no other objective spent.
Yeah, just spending their time pushing those lanes out on top and bottom again.
Sarsen has, as you'd expect, given that he rushed it, very early mirror mana. Item timings are good from SBENU, but you can see it's one of those games where when you're 3 turrets behind with a Trinity Force Corki, lets you know that you've really made some bad rotations in the early game.
And things have not gone well for SBENU overall. Dragon in 30 seconds, and this is one that SBENU would like to get, or at least like to prevent the e-mFire from being able to take. It's getting a little bit scary now.
We're just looking for vision or grouping from SBENU to show what they actually are willing to contest, what they actually want to do to get back in this game. Because for now, they've been pretty happy to give over almost every single piece of map control to e-mFire. They haven't really been fighting back. They haven't been pushing forward their vision. They haven't cleared any vision around Baron. Look at this, 3 pink wards from e-mFire on Baron. That's the one let up we just saw on your screen was giving away blue, but another uncontested objective. Gonna go over to e-mFire.
e-mFire going for it. I don't know if it's gonna be uncontested though. Here comes SBENU. Secret coming in. That Dragon low looks like they will get it. Flawless trying to go for the steal. He doesn't get it. Gets destroyed instead. Soul comes deep. Knocks somebody away, but he's going to get killed off now too. e-mFire winning that fight easily, and I don't know, I think it's pretty much over, Papa Smithy. I don't really see a lot that SBENU can do at this point to come back.
The communication from SBENU was definitely off. Flawless
Very
went for
awkward.
the solo steal. Soul was able to knock over the Gnar, but obviously not that big a factor. Just hopped over the wall again. They're going to keep trying to push. Remember, they are only a 3 here.
Yeah, it is true. 3v3 with the recalls from Crush and Edge, but SBENU still not able to push that mid lane turret. And, you know, it's not that numbers-wise SBENU can't come back. That still isn't the case. But coordination-wise, it just really doesn't seem like SBENU knows what to do at this point.
e-mFire, the one thing they have been is decisive one ahead. They start the Baron.
That's a very bold Baron to do, but it doesn't look like SBENU is reacting fast enough. They spot it now, but can they actually stop this? Flawless coming in. He's got that smite again. Second steal the charm. No, doesn't get it. Baron does go over to the e-mFire. Secret on his own, and once again, Flawless just gets killed immediately. Secret knocks up Edge. Soul coming in. Can they actually turn this into a fight? Sassen has a good angle, getting some decent damage, and e-mFire on the disengage now. And it doesn't look like Sassen's going to be able to chase anybody down, and e-mFire's going to get away with this.
Flawless actually managed to flash over and smite, but then an auto attack from Lucian was the only thing that separated. Flawless picking up that Baron and not securing it. Of course, didn't get it in the end. e-mFire get it despite the misfire on the smite and extend that lead. 7,500 gold. Crush isn't done pushing.
Nope, not yet. And e-mFire's got plenty of lane pushing to do now.
Just feels like SBENU and Flawless just aren't on the same wavelength. A lot of the contest, it feels like there hasn't been clear shot calls because the team isn't committing with the decision making that Flawless is trying to make. Flawless is going for the big steal, but the team isn't backing him up.
Yeah.
Either he needs to stop going for those aggressive moves, or the team needs to play around his aggressive contests, because if he just gives away free kill after free kill, the snowball's only going to continue for e-mFire.
Yeah, pretty much. Now the question is, how much can they get done with this Baron buff? They've gotten a turret already.
I mean, when it comes to safe or easy objectives, they're all down. There's no inner turrets left. It's only breaking the base.
Yep.
Sandra's TP is up, so they're going to bring up a couple of waves. Feels a lot like what SBENU were doing at this point of the last game.
I'd say so. All right, it's go time. Gonna try to catch Crush in the jungle. No luck though. Wow, Soul with the culling does a decent amount of damage to Sassen actually.
Back to back.
And top lane pushing at the same time. Now, e-mFire really isn't sending anybody to push any of these lanes individually, though. Do you think that's going to be a problem? Why isn't Hippo split pushing?
It's a fair question. He could definitely be up top lane split pushing. That's what we saw, of course, with the three-pronged attack. They don't quite have that sort of comp. If anything, maybe the dive is easier. I think they're more interested in finding a pick than getting an uncontested objective rather than going for the true siege comp that really suited SBENU last game.
Could be. Hippo moving down to the bot lane, trying to split push a bit now with that Gnar.
But he answered by Ezreal for now. It's worth knowing that, of course, e-mFire doesn't have Corki, Ezreal, Gnar like there was the previous game. Lucian is decent at sieging, but it's more about turret damage because he doesn't really have the range to get those safe auto attacks. Doesn't have a Trinity Force like Corki does. And Lissandra's, again, about wave clear and hit rather than necessarily turret damage. So not quite the same comp means that the results aren't as good for e-mFire in their turret siege.
Right.
Giving SBENU more time. Blue Ezreal, yeah, very, very scary in the late game. We haven't really seen Poppy do much, but can be a super tank if she gets the items.
SBENU has time here to catch up. This Baron has not really gotten e-mFire a lot. They've had a lot of trouble breaking the base, and I suppose this one's not over yet.
Remember, if you push 3 lanes and don't get an objective, you're actually just giving gold over to the opponent.
Pretty
so
much.
You're just helping SBENU get access to CS that previously has been pretty difficult for them to get.
Sassen being tricky in that brush. We'll see if he finds anyone, though. Guger not connecting with that hook. Sassen, I don't think, well, he's not seen by that ward, but they probably saw him go in there.
However, unfortunately, e-mFire just basically trading farm when they had Baron buff. Baron buff's expired, and you know, if there was a Baron buff power play, it would tell you that e-mFire essentially got nothing.
Yep. One turret, that's it.
Definitely on the lower end.
Yeah, it's do or die time for SBENU now.
You say that, but it's e-mFire make the boss while you had, oh boy.
Nuclear gets grabbed, but not a big response from the rest of e-mFire.
Sassen's found enough time to get back. They've definitely chunked out this bottom turret, but e-mFire, they need to break the base on this push, or very, very shortly.
Well, the sooner the better, right?
Always. More time. The team that's been denied, held down in SBENU. Pack up the items, and then it could just be a single one team fight, a 45-second death timer. Add a second team fight win, and that's the game over from a SBENU perspective.
Pretty much.
So punishing to die, and this is why we saw some of those mammoth games yesterday, Doa. Dying from the 25 to 40 minute mark is super, super punishing compared to what it was in the 2015 season.
Yeah, I mean, people thought the games are going to close out faster, but it's just making people play even safer. Saucin gets grabbed while they try to take that dragon. That's going to be the engage from SBENU right now. Cougar push on the outside of the fight. Soul very low, has to duck out the back of the dragon pit. This may be a good fight for SBENU. Oh, never mind.
Wow.
Big Gnarled from Hippo hits 4 people. Flawless, still able to zone the AD carry away. And that's going to give SBENU a chance to turn this fight around yet again. Hippo's tanky, and they won't be able to quite catch him. But they barely stay out of this fight, or they barely come out of this fight without losing. They're still going, though. All right, looks like they're going to get the dragon. Man, that was about as close as it gets. That was a great Gnar ultimate from Hippo, but they chunked out Soul enough that eMFire wasn't able to get the damage done early on in the team fight that they needed.
That was the first highlight reel clip from Hippo in his competitive life. Of course, a very short one, but this is a fight that should have gone squarely over to SBENU. They did everything right. Soul leaves this fight with no health. He's not involved after channeling the Karnali. This should have been a cleanup from both AD carries, both of them freely ulting, but what a 4-man Gnar ultimate.
And it would have been good if Lucian was there.
Yeah, but he really bought them time. Remember, this could have been a turning point for SBENU. Now it's only the smallest advantage, just a second dragon pickup for SBENU. So good job to Hippo, sparing the blushes of his teammate.
Yeah, it kind of unlocks SBENU on the map, though. They were able to get some of their own wards down. They were able to clear out some of the wards from eMFire. So even though they didn't necessarily get any kills that fight, they got the dragon and they got a new lease on life as far as map control goes.
Well, they're still 10,000 gold behind.
Yeah,
the big issue is that although the gold lead hasn't extended massively, it's still very much present. You can see the CS among everyone basically the same. It's all about the turrets and every other advantage that eMFire have been able to pick up rather than any sort of CSing mechanics.
Pretty much.
In season 2015, these lanes would have been deep frozen. SBENU wouldn't be able to pick up the CS. There would have been CS advantage to go with everything else, and you can do the math. That would mean a 15 to 18,000 advantage, not just the mere 10,000, which is massive, but could be much bigger in a different season.
Yeah. eMFire still trying to put on the pressure. Baron is up, and the lanes are pushed. eMFire is going to start to threaten that now, I think. What do you think?
Have really good really good pick, but of course Lissandra is finding it hard to get into the back line. They need to get a strong pick, but with Gnar not having teleports and not being able to get a flank there, and no one else really a flank champion from eMFire, they've spent so much time just sitting in these long, wide lanes, and against Ezreal with Cleanse, against Corki, and with an Alistar on the team, so hard to get CC onto either Saucin or Nuclear, which is why we've seen this really big trading a farm, because eMFire doesn't know with Dragon down how to force a fight.
Well, the later this game goes, the better it is for SBENU, isn't it? I mean, with a pick comp like eMFire has, you know, if you can't make picks, you can't get those man advantages to turn into objectives and break the base, right?
Well, eMFire can't make picks under the enemy turrets in the inhibitor in the mid lane. They can make picks around this objective, though. Baron is up. This is the one place where SBENU will actually be obliged to fight.
Baron time. eMFire going for it. SBENU already there, though. They've got vision. They see it now. What can they do?
Baron's pretty healthy, still not that low.
Yep. Flay happens. Hippo tries to go for Sun Crush coming from the side. Edge coming from the flank. Saucin with a big two-shot brush to the middle. Another large Gnar ultimate. A kill coming in already for Edge. Saucin trying to kite backwards, but with Nuclear already down, I don't think SBENU can win this fight. Certainly doesn't look that way as Flawless falls. Saucin doing everything he can, but he finally gets locked up by that Lissandra W, and that's an ace in favor of eMFire.
Really nice teleport from Edge. They had the perfect ward spot. We talked about the fact they couldn't get a pick. Forced the Baron. That was their best chance to get the fight they wanted. And with 45-second respawn timers, I think eMFire have done it.
I think they have, yeah. eMFire able to take this pick comp, get the edge early on. Nuclear up in just 15 seconds. Secret will join him, but I don't think it's going to be enough time. It looks like eMFire have finally, in their third match, picked up their first game win of the season. We're going to game 3. GG.
With the saddest of ironies, that first win is against a SBENU team that struggled for so long in their rookie season. eMFire, by comparison, pick up their win much quicker and looked clean doing it. Notice that when they don't fall behind, when Hippo's on a meta champ, suddenly their map play's pretty good, their decision making was good. They realized, okay, Going for this siege isn't working. We don't have siege champions. Let's force a fight at Baron. Expertly initiated by Edge coming around the back on Lissandra, and well finished out. And congratulations to e-mFire. They did everything right to pick up that win.
Yeah, the teleport from Lissandra coming around the back, and again, a good Gnar ultimate from Hippo for the second fight in a row. And just the fact that they were able to destroy Nuclear immediately in that fight. They got the pick they wanted, they won the fight, and that won them the game.
If that was Sassen where Nuclear was, he would have had cleanse, but I guess Nuclear didn't see the channel on the teleport in the fog of war, died instantly, didn't have any way to deal with the Lissandra initiation. And even though Sassen had a lot of heroics in that fight, as a soul damage dealer, only so much he could do.
Yeah, oh definitely. Looks a bit despondent. You don't want to be the team that gets beaten by the team that hasn't beaten anyone yet this season.
I mean, you've already hit one record. Losing the first series to e-mFire would be a massive upset for SBENU.
Yeah, it would definitely hurt. Yeah, so we're going to game 3, and we'll see who takes it. We'll be back after this.